Welcome viewers to yet another episode of our fabulous show, My Journey. In this show, we share stories of people that have lived their lives overcoming obstacles and turning them into opportunities that have given them victories that they celebrate even today. And please don't forget, share, like our page, like our Facebook page, our YouTube page, share. Maybe somebody might be inspired by this story. If you can be inspired, I'm sure someone else somewhere can be inspired. Okay, on this show today, we have an inspirational man in the house. I'm not going to introduce him to you or say much. I'll give him the opportunity to introduce himself and tell us his story. Don't forget to share with somebody. It's inspiring. If you can be inspired, someone else can be inspired. Mr. Ncube, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can you please tell us maybe your first name, where you grew up, where you learned, what you do currently? Share with somebody.
Thank you. My name is Ncube. I know most people struggle with pronouncing that name, but if you just stick your tongue to the upper palate, beautiful. You are scoring.
It actually works.
5 out of 5.
It works.
Yes.
Thank you.
It basically means Victor or Takunda in Shona.
Shona. Okay.
I am the firstborn out of a family of 5, which is 4 boys and 1 girl. I was born in Escotini, which is basically 40 kilometers out of Bulawayo. But I grew up in Bulawayo. I went to school in Bulawayo. My first school, which I started in 1982, was Mafagela Primary School.
1982?
Yes. 2 years after independence. Yes, and I did my secondary school at a secondary school that is in Bulawayo, in Kwavalanda, which is a suburb which is adjacent to Luveve, which is called Inyanda Secondary School. Then I did my A-levels in Mpopoma. I like I said, I'm the firstborn in our family. I've got siblings. The first one is Busiso. The other one is Pagamani. The only girl is Nosizo. And the last one in our family is Tabo. We still have our mother. Our father sadly passed on in 2005. Currently an assistant regional immigration officer, based here at Beitbridge border post, in charge of a southern region, which constitutes of Beitbridge border post, Chiredzi, Sango, and Masvingo.
That's big. That's very big. Okay, so Mr. Ncube, tell us. Immigration, was it something that you've always wanted to do? Like growing up, I mean, everyone has a vision, everyone aspires to be something. Immigration, was it something that you've always wanted to do?
You'll be shocked that immigration was the last thing on my mind.
Is it?
Growing up. When we were discussing, I mentioned that I had been cornered into believing that I was meant to be a teacher. Actually, my maternal grandmother actually believed that I was supposed to be a headmaster. I'm not sure whether she knew that I had to go through stages of being a teacher
before
I get into being a headmaster.
And that's years.
Yeah, but to cut the long story short, after finishing my A-level, I got myself into, I worked for a retail giant at for some time, but as a contractual worker, and managed to put myself into IT school on that. But still, I was on a quest to get a permanent job. All those jobs that I was doing, while I was putting myself through school, were temporary jobs. And you would understand, during that period, our parents were largely majoring on job security. So my father was not convinced that what I had going on at that time was good enough. So after I could not get any other things, he was convinced that I should go the direction of teacher training. And he assisted me resource-wise to ensure that I applied to Hillside Teachers College, and I went for the interviews and everything. And at a certain point, they acknowledged and they called me for an interview, accepted that I had been given a place. I think I was going to major in English and history.
That's teaching?
Yes, that was teaching. During the process, I got a permanent job with a wholesaling company as an invoicing clerk. But during that period, someone also directed me to the Public Service Commission, which was running a recruitment office where you would go, register your details, submit your certificates and everything, and indicate what you would like or what field you would like to be employed in. And I remember one of the listings, if not the top listings that I had put on at the top there, was customs and immigration.
Okay.
At that time, what really was clicking in my mind was customs, because I had been reading in the newspaper about a lot of customs activities, and to me it was like customs and immigration are similar things. So later on, I later on got to understand that these are two separate and very distinct jobs that are done by separate entities at all. But the story is that at the time I was accepted to go to Hillside College, I then got called for an interview with immigration. That was in January 1997.
So you had 3 opportunities at one go. There was the permanent job
that I was holding with the wholesale
and then
company.
There was the teacher's interview that you had passed already.
Yes.
And then the immigration.
Then this immigration opportunity came on.
What made you choose immigration?
I was not really at that time convinced that I could be a teacher.
Oh, okay.
But everybody else was convinced. You know, where the family outvotes you, and you're beaten by the majority vote, and everybody steers you in a certain direction, but you are yet to be convinced. So at the end of the day, you say, well, if the majority is convinced, then let me walk on this path.
Right.
So I get to the interview at immigration and I get offered the job. Now, the biggest task was how was I going to tell my father that now I'm no longer going for teacher training, because he was already informing the extended family that my son is going to teacher training. And at that time, teaching was a very noble, high secure profession. Any teacher could walk into any bank and secure any loan. You know, the most enviable of car models in the community were driven by teachers. So according to my father, it was the best thing that I could achieve at that time. So when I went then addressed the issue with him, he was very disappointed. Actually, disappointed is understating it. He was very angry. To the point that he told me that I want you to refund me all the money that I used to assist you to go for the teacher training college.
Of which that is a challenge that most youths are facing. It's so hard for you to get support from your parents in a career that they are not so familiar with.
True.
For instance, someone wants to base in music, you want to do art, you want to do dancing, you want to do basketball full-time. Most parents, they find it really hard to support children because they say there is no security in that. We are not in America, we are in Africa. But how did you overcome that obstacle? Because that is a big obstacle to so many youths. Because so many youths today are doing things that they're not passionate about.
True.
Or because of the pressure of you have to do something that has security. But now when you do something that you're not passionate about, most of the times you don't come out with a great result out of that thing. So how did you, maybe you can help someone who has a similar situation at hand?
The fortunate part was my father was a reasonable man. My father was a well-read man.
All right.
So what he did not understand, he would go and find out. He would go and research. He was not that type of person who made finality with the limited knowledge that he had.
All right.
And that I really have to give credit to.
All right.
Because from the conversation and the fallout that we had, he then went, I think he spoke to his employer and every people around, and his stance sort of softened.
All right.
And I think what is also key when our current generation of young people who want to make diverse decisions about the careers that they make, that they want to make, what is key for the parents or the people that are loaded over them need to do is they need to find out what is the passion. I have seen people that have been forced to do medicine only to have emotional breakdowns.
Exactly, depression and all
those things. He has achieved the 7 years at medicine. He is brilliant enough to do it, but now he goes into practice. He discovers everything is void. The vocation is not there. The calling is not there. They become just an empty shell. 3, 4, 5 years down the road, the practice goes down. They fail, and some of them end up being blacklisted in the practice, and that is when they only start saying, I was actually forced into this. So I think it is also very important at the end of the day to allow the youths to run with what they believe is essential in them. I know most parents are worried because what I have discovered now, most of the youths are just keen to go with the easiest route. And the parents at certain times would be trying to avoid that. You ask the general youth on the road now, what would you like to do to be when you grow up? They would immediately cite the 90-something% unemployment rate, and they would tell you, I'd rather be a singer or something like that. But then there are other things that people can achieve. Even during those difficulties, we still have people that are millionaires in the 90% unemployment rate and all those things. And if you discover how they are making it, most of them are people that have not been forced to do the things that are making them big. Show me any person who is big who says, I was forced to do this. There are very few, if any. You discover people that are doing recycling, picking up trash and all that, piling it to millions and converting it into millions of dollars. It's passion that is driving them. Force somebody to do it, they will just do it for the sake of doing. They will not put much effort into it.
One thing that I really got there is that I think for the parents out there who are watching us, if a child comes to you and they present a certain passion to you, make sure you find out more about that particular thing. Even to the youth yourself, present something that you have researched about and really put the facts on the ground. I'm sure most parents, they're reasonable. They just need you to state your case, bring the facts, tell me the exact thing that you really want to do. Make it clear, a vision made clear. It's very easy to run with. So you're the Assistant General Manager of Immigration.
Assistant Regional Immigration Officer.
Oh, okay. Yes, Assistant Regional Immigration Officer.
Yes.
Thank you. So how many years did you work in immigration before you got the promotion, such a big promotion, I have to say?
It's been long. It's been long. Since 1997. I started working for immigration on the 1st of March, 1997. That's when we went for training. I remember because we were the biggest group. Sadly now I think I can count less than a hand of those that still remain in the service. Sadly some have passed away, some have moved on with their careers. But we started in March 1997 in Harare, and that's almost 20 what? I've even lost count of the years.
20-something years.
20-something years, yeah. And I
year.
started as a cadet. We started, by then there was cadetship. You just would be having one strip. And you have to work through it. So rose through the ranks, got promoted on merit, ability, rank, and all those until I got to being an Assistant Regional Immigration Officer. It has been quite a journey because I spent my first 2 years in Harare at our headquarters. That was 98 and 99. 2000 to 2003, I was here in Beitbridge. I was once here when I was a very small boy.
Is it?
Yes. Okay. I worked here in Beitbridge 2000 to 2003. And then from there, I was sent to Chirundu. I worked in Chirundu, I think, up to 2008. And then I was then deployed. That's when I got promoted to Assistant Regional Immigration Officer. My first deployment is in Ario was to Manicaland, where I was in charge of Forbes border post.
Right.
I spent exactly 1 year there, and then I was redeployed to the Western region, which constitutes Plumtree, Maitengwe, Mpoyengs, and what is now Mlambapele. I was the person who set up that region. I was the first person to be in charge of that region, and then 2016. I was redeployed to Beitbridge border post, and then in 2018 I was appointed as the in charge of Beitbridge border post.
That's a lot of patience and quite a journey, I have to say. Okay, let's just take a short break and try and meditate and digest all the 23 years that you have shared with us. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back just now. Welcome back, viewer. Thank you for joining us again, and I do hope you're sharing with somebody. If you're being inspired, don't forget, press that button and share this video. So we are in studio with Mr. Ncube. So, Mr. Ncube, immigration, it's a big company, you have a big post there. But I understand there are other things that you are doing on the side. You are not just an regional, assistant regional Immigration officer. I'll get the hang of that. Right. You are doing other things. Tell us about, I hear you have a blog, and this other vision that I once heard you talking about at Beitbridge Business Summit sometime, solar energy. That was big for me. It's a long-term vision, but it was big. You can share with us on that.
Okay, thank you. I have my hands in a number of things, but one of the things that I'm passionate in is leadership development.
All right.
Because I believe that this is one sphere that most people are missing, and this is one sphere that society is missing. We need to focus on building up people that are going to make a difference amongst ourselves. If you check most of the developed nations, they take time to develop nature and culture people towards a leadership angle, which makes them responsible and passionate about being selfless, committed, and serving. And I think one of the biggest problems that we are facing, maybe as a country, as a nation, as a region at all, is maybe we seem to have lost an understanding of what leadership should be all about. And one of my biggest worries is everybody who seems to be thriving to want to be a leader now is focusing more on the benefits of what they perceive leadership is going to give them than what they have to do to be called leaders. In my view, leadership is a vocation. Okay. You are giving more than you are receiving. The moment you go out and you say, nominate me, vote for me, so that I can get into a position, then I can drive a car, to me it's no longer leadership. It is something else. Okay. And I think there needs to be a certain dimensional change in our society. And society begins with me and you. If we are going to change how society thinks, it starts with me and you. We've got to start thinking. We need to be selfless. We need to think of the other person. We need to understand the other person can only be because of what I am and what I contribute to their being. So one of the things that I really have been passionate about is we need to focus on re-engineering our leadership ethos right from the society. I believe most of the problems that we're facing now is because we have a leadership that is believing largely on entitlement. And entitlement, like I told somebody a few days ago, entitlement is a poison. But those people that believe in entitlement don't think that entitlement is a poison. They think it's tea that must be drunk continuously. And you if you try to dissuade somebody who believes when they are drinking poison that when they are drinking poison that they are drinking tea, they'll fight with you. But leadership and entitlement can never work together. So once we have people that are walking ahead of us, who believe they are entitled to walk ahead of us, then we don't have leaders. We have people that are focusing on themselves. They're not selfless. Because selflessness says, if I am holding something that is very valuable to me, but you come to me, and on an assessment, I realize you need that more than me. Leadership says, I will not have any qualms giving it to you and walking away. Because when I walk away, I believe I have done great service because I have enabled somebody who was in need of that more than me. But people who are not leaders will look at you and say, oh, you need my shoe. I can see you are shoeless, but I can't give you my shoe because I will also be shoeless. But the leader will say, come, wear my shoe. Walk more comfortably. I'm a leader. I'll find how I will avoid the hard terrain. So one of the passions that I really am working hard on is to say, we need to change. We need to change the culture of doing things. I always speak to my colleagues at work to say, we have to stop being managers and start being leaders. And the difference is the manager operates within a straitjacket. You stray 15 degrees, he's already got a disciplinary hammer to hit you back into line. But if you come in as a leader in the workplace, all you're basically saying is, my brother, you are slightly off tangent. The disadvantages of you being slightly off tangent is that you're going to derail. The manager doesn't have time to explain to you why these things are going to harm you. His job is to keep you on the straight line. But if you develop a leader, if you are a leader and you develop people from a leadership ethos, you will have people that are so enamored to you, so grateful to work with you and to run the race with you. And you will have less issues that arise with you, because they would understand we are building each other. We are working with each other. We're not working for each other. We are working with each other. We are a team, more than just a squad that pushes. So that's the first thing that I believe we need to seriously re-engineer our leadership platforms. I've tried to push a radical theory that says, can't we reach a certain point, even in the political sphere, where we say, let us vote for people because of their acumen, not because of the political badge that they are wearing. You know, there was a time in our political history where some people will say, even if we put a baboon, just because it's carrying a political badge that we want, you must vote for it. And I think this is where the ethos got lost, because we should vote for somebody, we should elect into office somebody that we believe in, somebody that we say, can we go to sleep comfortably knowing that this person is in charge? Can we go to sleep comfortably knowing that if there is no water today here, they are not going to sleep until there is water tomorrow? You know?
Wow. Okay, so this is really powerful. I mean, leadership it also facilitates the growth of those that are under you. I think that is something that is really lacking. And most of the leaders that we have in society right now, they are too selfish even to try and encourage the youth that needs to be groomed. There is no grooming. Most youth, we are finding our grooming on the internet from things that we just feel maybe this is right. It's trial and error. There's not that leader who is facilitating that. So how are you doing this? Now, this is something that I think society today are more into the youth, because the youth is the tomorrow that we are basing on.
Definitely, definitely.
So how are we doing this? The
little that I'm doing, I have got a blog that I've been writing, I think, for the past 10 years. It's pindelamuses.com. If you can check it up, I think it's got more than 100 posts now, from a very long time ago. The whole idea is to create a mindset that says we need to change the way we are doing things. And I've been involved in a few projects. I've been available to people that say, come, we've got a project that we are doing. I've been willing to avail time. I'm also involved in church ministry. I'm an elder at the Pentecostal Assemblies of Zimbabwe. And I have largely been responsible for what we call the projects. The projects also involve reaching out during the COVID era. We have been doing the food banks, reaching out to people that are in need, that can barely make it to the next day because of food shortages and all that stuff. It's quite a momentous thing to do, heavy logistics and all those things. But you know, you go to sleep better knowing that you made a difference to some family, you made some difference to someone who was going to be distraught overnight and all those things. I'm also involved in a few social projects that are running. You spoke about the solar thing. I believe Beitbridge has got an immense opportunity that is just being left latent. The aspect of latent power is just there. It's being kept on idle. I believe Beitbridge has got the potential to become a multi-millionaire city, a mega city. But I think what tends to kill the drive is because we have driven ourselves into a comfort zone corner to say, if I've got a beautiful house, you know, if I'm driving a beautiful car, if my children are going to good schools, I'm content.
But now to that selfishness.
It goes back to that aspect. At the business summit, I threw the cat onto the pigeons, and I said there is enough millionaires here in Beitbridge to create a special investment project where we can get rid of our electricity problems in one whiff. Why? And we want to work with the practical things. I already am aware of a citrus industry that is running just across in Beitbridge, that is basically running on solar. That is a multi-million-dollar industry. that is being run by energy from the sun. And that person is banking on making millions from citrus products by drawing down on energy that is coming from the sun. Now, if that person is banking millions of dollars in exports every year from just the sun that is being harvested every day, that you need not to harness or anything, what is really stopping us here? I understand there's about 56,000 of us here. What is stopping us here? Beitbridge is in the hottest region, I think region 5. That means we receive the most of the sun in Zimbabwe, and we are doing nothing about it except to cry and say the sun is killing us, the sun is killing our cows and all those things. But the very same sun can be harnessed. We can sink solar bowls, water our cattle, grow feed for our cows, and generate enough power here so that we can tell this big company that generates power in Zimbabwe to say, look, your power distribution capacity must stop as you enter Beitbridge. We do not need you here. We've got our own power. Actually, we are going to feed some surplus back to you. You know, and look at the developments that are happening all over the world. Solar technology has become the in thing, and it has got less carbon footprint, less pollution challenges. We are not going to be burning any coal, and we are not going to be wasting any water steaming it away. And all I'm saying is, within Beitbridge, there is enough capital. If we are to come together as a community and say, now we want to do this, there is enough capital to create our own solar power station and turn around the fortunes of this town. I hear people crying so much, saying we want benefits from the crossings at the border, we want to benefit from the part of the customs duties that are being paid. Let's build a mega power station here, and we will be able to finance everything that we want, because God has given us the biggest resource that we need, the sun. So we should be able to turn those things that are giving other people pain, we must be able to turn them around and make them work for us. The sun must work for us. And if the sun works for us here, I can assure you, you go to Libya, petrol is so cheap. So cheap, because it is the resource that they have. You know, they can afford to drive the 8-liter vehicles because they are buying petrol close to nothing. We have got the sun here. Can't we generate enough electricity such that our energy tariffs are going to be close to nothing? But what it needs now is envisioning and bringing people together. And like I'm saying, I in my previous stint, most of the millionaires that are millionaires now in Beitbridge here, they were as young as me during that time. I saw them grow up. So I'm very much familiar with what they can do and what they cannot achieve. But if we come together, I am still convinced, during my tenure here in Beitbridge, I'm going to make it a point that we do our level best to say, this is the best resource that we have. Let's make the best out of it, and let's see what it's going to bring out.
Funny thing, Mr. Ncube, is that most people that are building houses today in Beitbridge, the newsstands, every other newsstand area that is being given, they're no longer depending on ZESA. They are now using solar. But now the thing is, people are failing just to come together, like you were saying. The leaders are saying, if I'm okay, if I'm using solar in my house, as long as my kids are okay, I'm fine. People are just failing to come together and make this thing one big thing that will benefit the whole of Beitbridge. That is very powerful. And instead, we're complaining, we're taking the sun as a curse. It's too hot, you know, Beitbridge is too hot. Instead of taking it as an opportunity, you see, that is really powerful. I'm sure someone, somewhere, those millionaires, I'm sure they've heard it. Even I have heard it with my few thousands. I'll do something. I'm inspired. So, Mr. Ncube, tell us your life journey. You've shared with us your life. You've shared with us your vision, the things that you're pushing to do. Maybe someone might be saying, what are some of the challenges that you can say that are outstanding? I'm sure life, it's a challenge. You face a challenge every day and you overcome it somehow. But what are some of the outstanding challenges that you faced? And maybe you can share with us one or two. And how did you really overcome them to be where you are today?
Okay, one of the biggest challenges that one would face is life is not always how you will always want to make it.
True.
You will always face obstacles. You will always face challenges. You would, at a certain point, you will fall face flat down. You know, and because I'm also a human being, I've faced those challenges. I've faced failure. I've failed so many times. But one of the greatest things that I have learned in failure is that I must never waste pain.
All right. Okay.
And I was telling my daughter a few days ago that you come to me shedding tears and all those things, but I want to know, what is it that you have learned out of the pain? Never waste pain.
All right.
People at first at work used to laugh at me about that statement. They didn't really understand. Don't waste pain.
All right.
Pain is going to come, yes, but don't waste it. Learn something from the pain. Don't just be hurt. Don't just feel the pain. Don't just be bitter. Don't just be angry about it. Don't waste the pain. Learn something from the pain. Whatever gives you pain, learn from it. Build from it. Progress from it. And it's going to make a great difference. I am one person who has had a lot of setbacks in life.
All right.
A lot, but of all those things, setbacks that I have learned, I have met, I have learned one thing: I cannot spend all my time worrying about the setbacks. Right. I need to make progress. I need to become unstuck. I need to move. I need to learn so that I don't keep on being hit by the very same curveball over and over again. And I can assure you from that understanding that I have got to never to waste pain. I have less and less painful episodes in my life.
Wow, that's powerful. Don't waste pain. Don't waste pain. That I think I've learned something from that. Maybe someone would want to know, you've had failures, setbacks in life, maybe just one particular incident, if you are free to share with us, just one thing that, you know, this thing happened in my life, it was a major setback, it was so painful, but I managed to not to waste the pain by doing this, and I came out with this result.
I'll tell you, one of the biggest of them all, come A-level, everybody around our circle was convinced that I was going to get the best points and I was going to be a straight man to go to university and do law.
Okay.
And I was so cocksure. But come the results, my A-level results were so bad.
Is it?
I couldn't even afford to get to the minimal at the university. I had to redo. So that thing hit me so hard because I had wanted, you know, the pressure, the peer pressure, the discussions. My peers were doing medicine, were doing sciences, and they were aiming for medicine and all those things. I was doing arts, and I was the first deputy head boy at high school. I had been head boy at all my previous schools. So you know, there then comes this attachment that comes that says, I know you are a show, you are a true pass, you are a show where everybody is voting for you to say, look, it's a given. Your next stop is going to be Mount Pleasant. You are going to be doing law. Then you take your results slip and you say, I'm not even fitting to do the lowest of all degrees. And it was quite a huge disappointment. Wow. So now I had to rebuild and restart. And that disappointment is what created a tangent. I had to find another way of finding myself through back to the path. And I can assure you, I've done a lot. I've gone to school, I've studied IT, I've studied project management, but I've always had a passion to study law. And only when I turned 43, did I then register with UNISA to do law.
So all the time in high school, your passion was law?
Form 6.
Form 6?
Yes.
And then life happened?
Then life happens.
And only at 40?
I'm turning 46 this year. I'm on to the second year of my LLB with UNISA.
Wow.
And I'm doing it passionately.
Wow.
Because I'm not doing something that I must do to qualify to do something.
Exactly.
Yes, I'm now doing something that I have always wanted to do. So even when I go through my modules and I go through my semesters and when I even pay for them, I am doing something that is going to be me. Something that is going to add a notch to me. Not something that maybe I need to add to a CV to say, now for me to achieve this, I must get this. You know?
Wow.
And that's one lesson that I've learned in life. In as much as I would have loved to do this law degree many years ago, the opportunity did not avail at that time. But I'm happy that I'm doing it now. Because come 2 years' time, I'll finish it, God willing, and I'll be able to progress on and do the things that I've always wanted to do without any pressure, without any unction. Because now I'm not under any pressure to say it must be part of my CV, to get the next job or to get the next anything that needs to happen. It is now something that is a passion, something that is a vocation, that I'm saying for me to complete my life's aspirations, I should be able to get this LLB and maybe venture out and be a community defender or a community protector or anything. That is now something that is building up within me. And life happens,
but you didn't stop.
You learn from the happenings of life. One of the things again about being a firstborn, you then now have got to be the deputy father, you have got to be the deputy parent. There are times when you would want to go on and do your own things, but then you have got to take responsibility for other things that are happening. So you find you constantly have got to defer your own issues and get to that point. But I'm happy I finally managed to say I'm picking this. I've done a lot of other things. I've done what I believed I needed to do to balance my career projection, but this is what I've always wanted to do, and I'm happy I'm on the path to doing it.
So life happened, you didn't stop.
I didn't stop.
You kept on going.
I pushed hard.
And now you are doing it. Wow, that is really inspiring. That is really inspiring. I'm sure someone out there has been inspired. Don't stop. Life might happen, but take that as stepping stones. Keep on building up. The opportunity will come. Don't give up. Keep on keeping on. And when the opportunity comes, you might find so much joy in doing that. Let's quickly take another break. We'll be back just now. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, viewers. Remember, share with somebody. We've been having a beautiful time, an inspiring time in studio. I myself have been inspired by so much. I mean, actually I have areas that I've marked. I have to go and change here and here. So make sure you share with somebody, inspire somebody. Someone might be at the verge of giving up. Seeing this or hearing this might change their mind and give them a better future. So Ms. Ncube, thank you for the beautiful conversation we've been having.
Yes.
My producer always says, if you were to write a book about your life and your journey, what will be the name, the title of that book?
Okay. Your producer is prophetic.
You are writing a book.
I have a book, I think that is a quarter way through.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. And to prove it, when it comes out, you will recall the title.
All right.
I've called it Crux, C-R-U-X, the epic story of an African child.
Wow.
All right. Yeah.
Now I'm curious. I want to read the book.
Yeah. It's basically the story of what I have seen around my growing up, what I've experienced, what I believe the ordinary African child has experienced, and in it also the aspirations of what we believe the future should be. I believe people who always want to always leave a picture that says, okay, we are here now, we are facing this, what does the future hold? In my view, our generation, the current generation, maybe my peers, the 40-somethings, have the biggest task because they are between the two generations. We are between the senior generation and the younger generation. And in years to come by, we will be the senior generation. But I believe the biggest moment that we really need to be exercising on now is now. We need to be spreading the fears of influence. This is why I'm advocating to say this is the moment where we should be engineering the leadership software. It might not greatly affect our generation, but it needs to impact on the upcoming generation. Because one of the greatest things that we are afraid of in these fears that we discuss is questions from our children who are going to say, when we complain about things that are going wrong, they will be asking us, what did you do?
Sure.
What did you do?
Sure.
And we should have answers. I'm seeing this happening now because when we grew up, unfortunately, those were not very good times when we grew up post-independence, particularly in our region here. There were also turbulences that were happening. And our parents would tell you, leave politics to us. Because they had fears, you know, and because they had fears, you find that most people shied away from being there in the forefront, shied away from being involved in a lot of things. We just became sedentary people. And one of the reasons that we find now there is a huge generational gap, if you stand and look at the demographics of people that are doing things, you will discover that the 40s, the 30s, the 50s, they seem to be like they are missing. They are passive in the whole thing. And it's something that we need to correct because we are at our most active, we are at our most observant, and we are at our most passionate. This is the time where we should be driving and influencing a lot of things. So what does the future hold? The future, in my view, holds a responsibility for us to re-engineer this so that the next coming generation adopts a mindset, a software, a social software that says we have got to do this right and make sure that our country, our nations, our regions, our whole world goes on to a better thing. So there are things that I would like to achieve before I pass on to the other world. I'm thinking of starting a foundation to reach out to incapacitated persons. We are presently doing it at a minimal stage, reaching out with limited resources, school children in need, college students in need, and all those things. Whatever little resources that we have got, we're throwing them out into here and there. The idea is if you get helped today, you should create a philosophy in you that says I should be able to help the next person that is in need, and that should grow the cycle. So the future actually is in us re-engineering this and making sure that we are people that look out onto each other, that believe in the correct understanding of leadership, which says a leader is a servant, a leader is selfless, a leader will do without what is valuable to them if you, the next person, need it most.
All right. Wow, that was too much, because I was going to ask what does the future have in store, but then I'm sure we've heard it all. Now, before we end the show, maybe you have one last thing that is really burning in you that you want to share with somebody. Maybe you can just share with us before we wrap up.
Of course, difficult times, COVID, and very, very difficult times internationally. And like what the current catchphrase is, those statistics, those numbers have become names of people that we know. Okay. Someone would, of course, argue that those numbers have always had their names. But you know, the truth is we are starting now to hear of names that are being attached to the statistics. The COVID cycle is becoming wider and wider, and it's starting to affect people more and more. It is very important for people to be able to keep themselves safe. And whilst they keep themselves safe, again, COVID has taught us something that we discussed at the summit. You need to be dynamic. You need to adapt or you die. There needs now to be an understanding. COVID is here. COVID is going to be here for quite some time. You know, when you travel, we used to be compelled to have the yellow fever vaccinations and all those things. People are having those conversations. Unfortunately, I'm not a scientist, so I will not be dragged into that conversation. But all I'm simply saying is COVID is here. It will be here with us for a long time. We will need to be innovative. We need to be dynamic. We need to adapt, or we will perish. In the sphere of entrepreneurship, we need to understand. Now we can no longer deal with meetings over coffee. We need to do the meetings over the virtual, over the virtual platforms and all those things. It's going to call for innovation. It will call for people to invest in certain skills, in certain equipments and all those things. And I can assure you, the next millionaires that are going to make it are going to be people that are going to adapt, that are going to be dynamic, and that are going to be innovative, irrespective of these challenges that COVID is presenting to us. So we still can make it, and we will make it, as long as we don't decide to just sit down, kill over, and die.
True.
Yeah.
That is powerful. Adapt, be dynamic, be innovative in this time that we are living in. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful and inspirational, informative show that we had today. Mr. Ncube, thank you so much for being with us. I'm sure we'll call you again because I realize that you have so much information that we can take and learn from. We'll attach his blog name on the comment section. Make sure you follow him, and his book, we are on the lookout for it. It's coming. If you see the title, just make sure you buy a copy. This is serious stuff. This is life-changing stuff. And don't forget to share, like our Facebook page, like us on YouTube, and watch out for the next show that we have in store for you. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cut.